not all have equal opportunity, but we all have the opportunity to be better than we currently are.
So I'll start off with you, Hesus. That's okay.
Sure. I'll lead the innovation and digital division, the fintech division at Grant Thornton. Mainly what we do is we look at regulatory change and see how that can, enable, create opportunities or challenges for our clients in financial services. When we mean financial services, we mean likes of banks, insurance companies, asset managers, fund managers. And then we look at the world of fintech, which they're doing their own thing with innovation. They're talking about what we talked about here, AI, the blockchains of the world, and other technologies like machine learning. And say, how do we really enable these two worlds to collaborate, to combine, and drive new opportunities? Because at the end of the day, there are great people doing great things out there, like the fintechs, and it's about finding those gems and bringing it to our clients to enable them to accelerate in their journey of innovation. So that's what I do with Grant Thornton in a nutshell.
Thank you very much. That was very quick and concise and makes sense. I'll start off with Hesus again. So a very quick one is, we hear that and we found out that you're an award-winning international fintech business person before you actually took on your current role. So the questions here is really like, that's an amazing achievement. How did you manage to achieve that as a minority? What obstacles did you face and how were you able to weather this storm?
Interesting one, Toji, because the area that I even decided to innovate is a quite complex one. So, being a minority founder, first the area is insurance. A lot of people don't innovate in insurance, and then, of course, I walk in as a minority founder. I'm Black. There are a lot of Black people in tech. That's another 10. So it was it was an incredible journey. I learned a lot. But what stood me to be able to get those awards and everything is anything like you have to be able to outwork the next person. That's what I've been taught since I was a kid. So part of my qualifications is that I'm a chartered insurer, a qualified financial advisor, I'm a chartered banker, and I went on to study the industry in and out because in order to compete, I knew I had to be better than anywhere else. So it's a given. I was very, very passionate about the industry itself, insurance, and banking, because I fundamentally believe that financial products could be tools of personal and social empowerment. And insurance, particularly as a model, is once you get to understand that, you get to understand why our emerging countries not as developed countries. Everything that we actually get as financial instruments in developing countries costs us more, the cost of capital, because we cannot transfer capital as effectively as developed countries. So that's what led me to really be resilient in what I was doing. But just give a background on what we ended up founding. We looked at smart cities and we said, okay, there's an opportunity in smart cities, and okay, what area in smart cities we're going to really, really focus on? So we looked at smart buildings, autonomous cars. We ended up in smart self with wearables. I'm actually wearing a wearable right now. And then we said, okay, there's opportunity now with wearables. A lot of people have Fitbits, Apple Watches, and so forth. Now we can actually use this data to alternatively underwrite and price and reserve for insurance products and banking products, which makes the opportunity for communities with less credit to be able to now afford insurance and afford other financial products, get them on the ladder. So it was interesting. Jordan ended up anyway going to US to raise our first capital and also get our first pilot with the Fortune 500 company. But what stood me was I knew how to outwork everyone. I knew that I was very passionate about what I was doing. That's key, because there's certain things that is out of your control, right? You cannot change the color of your skin, so you just have to really say, okay, it's out of my control. It's short term. There's some people that I cannot change right now, right? So I just have to get on knocking on a lot of doors. So we knocked on plenty of doors, and people that finally say, okay, we're going to give this guy a chance, even though everything that is not in our portfolio doesn't equate with this guy here that we're saying. So we went on anyway. We raised capital. We won a lot of awards. But what I wanted to do as well with the journey and everything that I've been doing in life is open doors for other people. So back then, insurance, even insurtech was not in. So in Ireland, there were very, very few technology companies innovating in insurance. So I was not only able to open doors for next insurtech opportunities, companies coming into the space, but also for people that are looking at, oh, there's a black guy innovating in insurance and is doing quite well, is being quite successful. So I did all the panels, and the more people saw me and heard about my story, and then, okay, we can actually invest more in black people, in financial services. So I'm very, very excited about what could happen in the next 5 to 10 years, because I believe that Africa, and particularly emerging countries in general, they have a massive opportunity in front of them. Now they have to galvanize, mobilize, and capitalize on the opportunity. Latin countries as well, but even focusing in Africa, population-wise, we know the power of data. Now we have to be able to now do what a business case like China, what happened in China, is a great business case to bring forward, and that's what drives me. I think there's a key things there: integrity, passionate for what you fundamentally do, and looking at the longer game. Is not about only yourself right now. It's about the path that you're going to create for others. And then we won a lot of awards, and we exited, and I'm on my new role.
That's absolutely amazing. You should write a book about what you've done, honestly. But thank you for sharing that. Like you said, there was a lot of perseverance there. You did your research, you knew your stuff, you had your plan, you had your strategy, and when one door was shut in your face, you still opened another door. And after that, you made sure you did your PR, you made sure you made some noise about what you do, and eventually you got the awards, and you weathered the storm despite the color of your skin, despite the issues that you had being in Africa and all of that. And it just shows that anyone can do anything that they really want to do, if they get their mind to it. So thank you very much again for sharing that.
You're welcome.
I think the last question, last but not the least, is for Hesus. Very similar vein as well. Do you have any initiatives and Grant Thornton that will benefit minority communities in Ireland?
What did you? There's been a very interesting conversation so far, and when I look at, okay, how do we really move the dial? Because at the end of the day, it's really about moving the dial. As Sandra said, now it's being talked about, how do we actually move the dial on this and really capitalize on this opportunity for the next generation. So whenever I'm looking at things, I'm looking, okay, it's not about, passing the torch. It's about actually, how do you light the fire? That's fundamentally key. And the way I look at it is due to the lenses, just to give you guys a quick background as well, is I was born in Africa, left when I was 2, moved to Portugal, which is a country that colonized different nations. And then leave that till I was 16, and I came to Ireland, a country that's been colonized. So in instance, seeing the world with all these lenses is very, very important. Fundamentally, coming back to what I'm very passionate about financial services, is we can't deny light to ourselves. We live in a capitalist society, right? And in order really to move the dial, we need to get minorities in position of management, C-suites, in boards positions. That's where it's really, really we're going to move the dial that we're discussing here, right? And that's what we want to do at Grant Thornton, is like, how do you put people in a position to actually be very successful in their endeavors, and then we'll move the dial for the next generation. So we're pretty much about KPIs, key performance indicators, right? Okay, how do we get more people from Black, Asian, minority ethnic groups really partaking in society in a manner that they can actually monetize the opportunity quite well, and then generate that capital to put back into the community. So even when we look at like startups and fintech and others, we actually look at, okay, from the standpoint of the fintech, what is going to be impact in society fundamentally, right? Because at the end of the day, we have a societal issue, but what repercussions can we actually solve with this problem? Meaning, when I started, and back to what Irete said was, you don't want to be the best as a Black person. You want to be the best at what you do. And if you go with that mindset, you go with the mindset, I want to be the best at what I do, and I'm gonna, be, when I walk into that room, I have to have, I earn the right to be in that room, regardless of that room, the room you're going into. So every all the initiatives we're looking at Grant Thornton, we don't want to look at it also from the standpoint, okay, we're gonna, there needs to be positive discrimination, and we have to talk about that. We're going to empower people from those backgrounds, but we want to make fundamentally, we're making the case that fundamentally they have to be viable businesses, right? So we opening out our fintech clinics, which we're giving out our time now to help minority groups, founders, small medium businesses, and help them really create a business that is viable, sustainable, and they can stand in their own feet and really capture the opportunity in front of them. And the opportunity we're looking at is twofold. Companies that are in Ireland, they want to passport to Africa, their technology, and companies that are in Africa, they want to passport back their innovation and technology into Europe. So those are the groups that we're going to be focusing on. We're going to really deploy resources there, and make sure that the business can stand in their own 2 feet, and make sure that we empower more people into positions of management, where the main decision will be made, and potentially, hopefully, the next generation, be through this movement or other movements that are going to come to the fore, won't go through everything that we've gone through, because we don't want 10 years time that we're having the same conversation. When in 10 years time, they walk into a board, there's 10 to 15, even more, 20, let's say 20% of the board members are from Black minority backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds, BAMI background. So that's the fundamentally what we want to do. That's Grant Thornton. So that in a nutshell, Tojo.
That's inspirational. I'm just hoping that you guys are able to scale it out to other organizations as well. But thank you very much for covering that.
James is asking Hesus, right? He said finance still, that's especially in Ireland, still has a brand as being an old boys club. Do you think that is changing?
It's interesting. It comes back to knowing why you're really doing what you're doing. So I became one of the best at what I do, banking and insurance. That's one thing. So regardless of whatever room that I walked into, I could hold my own, regardless of the age. Because now these days we have the internet, we can consume information, and I fundamentally believe I can outwork anyone. So that's a mindset thing as well. If I'm passionate about AI, I'm going to consume the information faster than anyone else. And I'm going to be able to capitalize on that opportunity or challenge or overcome that challenge faster than anyone else. So in terms of mindset, I build myself saying the room is with the room, right? I cannot influence the room, right? But when I walk there, I have to be 100% prepared for anything that's going to, I'll be going to be thrown while walking to that room. And that's true. It's fundamentally right. Particularly in insurance, if you look at it, there's the Caucasian, the middle-aged man. We can we can go through the stereotype, right? But fundamentally, when they start hearing you, and if you're making sense, and that's why I like finance at the end of the day. If you're making sense, it showcases clearly the opportunity. Sometimes they cannot pass on it. Because everyone knows the society that we live in. So that was a challenge initially, because of course you have to be 100% prepared, right? So even when I finished college, a lot of people went on and specialized in one thing. So but I said to myself, okay, I have to do all my qualifications at once. So I was doing my chartership of a bank, becoming a chartered banker, becoming a chartered insurer at the same time, and becoming a qualified financial advisor at the same time. So, and then when it came to insurance, I did all the insurance categories. So I did life, which is pensions and all that stuff. I did also non-life with the motor and all that kind of other stuff. So I knew the industry in and out. And I think being prepared to capitalize on opportunities is the key, because when I started to understand data and understand technology, and when I walked in, I could be able to connect the dots better than anyone else. Because also in life, I think we have to be curious, we have to be philosophers, we have to question things. At the end of the day, if you look at history, and the great inventions from people that sat back and they were like, okay, this was happening from this trend. I think in 3 to 5 years time, this is what's going to happen, right? And I like finance particularly because fundamentally it is a tool that could be used for personal and social empowerment. And I can say that with under my heart, and I mean, very, very passionate about this, because we can talk here as much as we want to talk about, how we're going to create impact, but impact comes from deploying capital. How are we going to get that capital deployed, and in order to mobilize the next generation and create more opportunities for the next generation is key. And Smith came and said, okay, we have to take 2% and invest into Black businesses. I think that's a very, very good cause. And he put a thesis on how you can do that, various vehicles. But also, we don't want to make sure, as I said initially, there needs to be an element of positive discrimination, but we don't want to make us lazy as well. Because the element will say, okay, now all these great things are going to happen, potentially could happen for Black people. So I'm just going to want to be the token in the room. I think that could, put us backwards. You don't want to be the token in the room. You want to be able to be the best in that room at any given time. So in finance, I knew the challenges that were in finance already. And I said I took a different approach. Because I'm fundamentally passionate about the area. And I think that Africa itself, if we're going to really zoom in on a nation, if we look at the business case of China, and China has been able to do, because of the size of the population, Africa has the same opportunity because of the size of the population as well. And a lot of people don't know there's an area as well called ECOWAS region, which is it could be categorized as an element of a union like we have in the EU, right? Even if those countries were able to mobilize themselves quite well, they already have the foundations of a union. And when we amalgamate all that population, it could be quite powerful in the digital era that we're in. So I think the important thing here is, okay, you're in finance, what's happening, and you cannot change that in the next 10, 20 years. You're going to say, okay, I'm going to passport this knowledge to where the opportunity will come in the next 10 years. And the opportunity will be in these emerging countries. We're seeing that already, by how the money is flowing into these emerging countries. But we have to be careful as people in Africa and also as the diaspora, that we educate our people in the country. Because if we don't educate the people in the country, this will be the next generation of colonization. And this is the key that is something for another discussion, the conversation for another day. But if we don't really educate our youth that is coming in Africa and coming into tech to be able to capitalize on the opportunity that is in front of them, other companies that are going to come in there and colonize them from the outside. And we've seen that with what China has done and technology that China has developed. Now I think it's about Africa owning their data, owning their opportunities that are presented by the digital era, and being able to move the dial. And China didn't turn into a superpower overnight. China took targeted steps to be in the position they are in now, which they're even competing with America. And I think BAME, even if we start joining other regions outside of Africa, there's a massive opportunity here that it could really create a shift politically, sociologically, economically, that for everyone. And that's how I approach things, and that's why I'm passionate about it. And I'm not going to make excuses saying that the room is what the room is. I'm just going to be the best person in that room.
Have the opportunity to be better than we currently are.